Kyle, if you don't mind introducing yourself and what you do here at the center and sort of what brought you here.
Sure. I'm Kyle Kramer. I'm the executive director of the Earth and Spirit Center. I've been here about 6 years, and I came from a background of running graduate theology programs by day and running an organic farm by early morning, late evening, and weekend. And my life has been one of putting together ecology, spirituality, contemplative practice, and concern for justice. So this is the perfect place to be.
That's awesome. So in my time here throughout the center this summer, I've come to an understanding of myself as a part of the earth, and that I really do come from it, and I am learning to be a participant in the world. And that just sort of has connected to my sense of spirituality and how I am interconnected with all things. And I know that you briefly touched on spiritual ecology to me, and I was wondering if you could sort of define that in your own terms and what it means to you.
Well, I think you got a good way of the way through a definition just by sharing your own experience, Megan. If I were to give a rough and ready definition of spiritual ecology, it would be the understanding, but not just the head understanding, the heart-centered understanding that there is no essential division between us and the rest of the natural world. We are part of the natural world, and that not only that, but that there is spiritual energy and there are spiritual resources that we can tap into as a part of that connection, such that we become part of the earth healing itself or healing herself. And that essential to that practice is the contemplative awareness that this is a living system and has a spirit within it. So it's not just ecology and not just spirituality, it's spiritual ecology, partnering with the rest of the natural world in its own healing.
Wow, that is really powerful. I think I've definitely come to an understanding of that, just working like with my hands in the soil and feeling it change and myself change through the process as well.
Yeah, the world is alive.
Yeah.
And in working with the world with intentionality and with heart-centeredness, we become more alive in really essential ways.
I think that's one of the biggest things that I've picked up on through my experience here is like how heightened my senses have become and like how much more that makes me feel alive.
Yeah, and the minute you can see with new eyes, you can begin to act in new ways. You can begin to act toward the kind of more beautiful world that we want to bring about or want to help be part of as it comes about.
Yeah, definitely. What ways would you say that the world is in crisis right now?
How long you got? I would say one of the most pressing crises ecologically, of course, is climate change and the limited window of time we have to act before mitigation and other efforts become much more difficult and much more expensive, and the human and ecological task or toll rather becomes much greater. But I think the biggest crisis right now is of imagination, in the sense of imagination on our parts, what it would take to dream of a world different and better than the one we have, both ecologically and in terms of social justice and otherwise. Imagination on the part of our political leaders, from the local to the federal and even international level, again, to imagine a world in which all have what they need, all creatures, human and non-human, have what they need to thrive and flourish. So ecologically, we need to address climate change first and foremost, among many others. But broader than that, we need to work together to cultivate new vision so that we can imagine a better world that we can then work toward.
Yeah, imagining a new way to live. One of the things that I learned in a class that I took last semester, which overall is like what brought me here to this internship, because it sort of inspired my interest in understanding humans as a species that really does have the ability to impact where we are. And with the development of agriculture over the past 10,000 years, like how much we really have shaped our landscape, and that we're coming to a point now that we are destroying it for the large part. So it's just sort of been my something that I've been wrestling with this summer, especially, is that how can we change that to imagine new ways to live?
Right. I mean, because as you say, because of our population numbers and the degree of our technology, we've become a geological force. We've become the next meteor to hit or asteroid to hit the planet, and so when we wield that kind of power, we also have to recognize that with it comes a huge amount of responsibility, and yet. What encourages me is to know that on some level the universe is rooting for us, that the universe has gone through all kinds of tough times before. The Earth has gone through all kinds of crises, and we're in the sixth extinction, which implies that there were 5 before this that we have somehow navigated, and life has found a way. So if I take comfort and hope right now, it's recognizing that the universe has a long track record of crisis and then new evolutionary phase following crisis. So I think we have this amazing opportunity where we are in human history and in geologic history to chart a new path forward such that, as Thomas Berry says, that there's a mutually beneficial relationship between the human species and the other than human species on this whole wonderful, beautiful system of planet Earth.
In what ways do you think that our current well-being as humans is connected to the well-being of the Earth currently, and how in many ways we are separate from one another, and how this might relate to our separation from the Earth?
That's a great question, and I think it's a very simple answer. As our founder and current president and lead teacher, Father Joe Mitchell, has often said, you can't be healthy on a sick planet. So the health of individuals and communities is part and parcel of the health of the planet. You can't really have one without the other. And the good news there is that you can, as an individual, you can dive in to any part of that equation and start to make a difference. So to the extent that you work for, say, personal health, you'll soon discover that it can't be separated from the health of the atmosphere, the health of the community you live in. And if you wanted to jump into the environmental issues that concern you, you would soon discover that you can't address those in a meaningful and sustainable way if you don't have a healthy community to be part of, if you yourself are not tending to your own self-care. So all flourishing is of a piece. And wherever we're particularly called to nurture that, that's going to benefit the whole.
What are some ways that people who might not be super involved in sustainable practices but want to get involved, what are some practical ways that they could start living more sustainable lives?
I'm going to give you an answer that probably won't be that satisfying to you because one size doesn't fit all. But the very first thing I would recommend to anyone who wants to get engaged here is to start listening. In the permaculture method of farming, that's the first principle, that first you listen to, observe the land and see what the land needs, what the land wants, what the land can offer, and then you tailor your response accordingly. So I think one of the reasons why we have gone so far off the rails as a human society is that we've become less capable of listening to ourselves, to the natural world. And so I'd say start noticing, start watching, start listening in your own life where your energies are drawn, what breaks your heart in terms of the either broader scale issues that are of great concern to you, or even the local practices that bother you. Like, why don't I recycle my stuff? And start to notice that instead of saying, here's my list of the top 3 things I should do, and then browbeat yourself into doing them. Because I think each person's path is different. We have common goals, but we all contribute to those goals in our own unique ways. And I think that if you take the time to start from that place of listening and discernment and being still first, then right action will result from that. And it will be clear to you whether you need to be the one writing your congressperson or becoming the next congressperson or becoming a biologist, or any particular life path that is going to that's going to contribute to the betterment of the whole.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. A really good answer too. I think everyone just needs to listen not only to like the world around them, but to themselves and like what really is calling them.
Yeah.
Into a purposeful life.
Well, and it's key to cultivating imagination. It's key to cultivating sanity, because we're not going to fix our problems in 2 minutes or 2 days or 2 weeks or 2 years. But this is probably 2 centuries worth of work we're looking at least. It took a couple thousand years to get to where we are now, and so I don't expect quick fixes. But it also that's what's going to sustain you in the work is going to places internally and externally that feed your soul. So, for example, every morning almost, I hike back in the woods behind our house to this spring-fed stream, and I go to the same exact place, and I look at the same little square yard, square meter of stream, and I've come to believe that all the answers are right there. That everything I really need to know, I can actually learn from that, from really closely observing how life unfolds in that one square meter of this living planet. And so finding that one place that we can return to as a place of safety, as a place of reflection and recreation, that's key to sustaining us for the long haul that we're in.
Yeah. Okay, everybody needs to just find a spot.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's a good start.
Start. Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much for your time and for the work that you do here at the center, and just overall working to bring people like me who are craving experiences like this. And yeah.
Well, I'm so grateful for all of your good work, Megan, and I'm grateful for the work of your generation, both that you're doing and that you will be doing. And I hope that we can give you the resources you need and the support to know we're in it together, and that's the only way we will get through what we need to get through and get to what we need to get to, is together.
Together.
Yeah.
If you don't mind just closing out with a statement on the founding and missions of the Earth and Spirit Center and how people can get more involved in centers like this.
Sure. Well, we are a nonprofit interfaith spirituality center in Louisville, Kentucky. We were founded in 2005 by a member of a religious order, the Passionist, Catholic religious order. And we envision a world, as I've described, where the entire sacred earth community flourishes. And our mission to work toward that vision is to cultivate a community or several communities, nested communities, where folks can be transformed through spiritual practice, through engagement with justice and compassion, and through care for and connection to the earth. Because we can't have full flourishing if individual humans don't flourish, if communities don't flourish, if the earth itself doesn't flourish. And so our mission encompasses all of those aspects of flourishing.